Woody and Amani, a love story by Barron Darby. Prologue. Amani. They tell you love shows up quietly. A slow door, a slow song, a slow morning where you wake up and realize the person beside you is the person you cannot lose. Mine did not show up quietly. Mine showed up in a white dress I was not sure I should be wearing, with my chest moving so hard I could feel my earrings trembling, and my girls lined up behind me like they were about to walk me into a baptism or a hurricane. I could not tell which. I kept hearing my own voice inside my head, very small, asking a very grown question. Girl, are you really about to marry a man you have never met? The aisle was long. The music was cheerful. Somebody whispered, "We got you, boo." Somebody else whispered, "Walk down the aisle, Amani." Somebody said, "I don't want to have to come get you, friend." And even though it was a joke, it was the truest thing anybody said that day. They would have come and got me. That is what good women do for each other. They stand at the edge of your fear and refuse to let you disappear into it. I lifted my foot. I want to tell you a love story, not a pretty one, not a neat one, a real one, the kind where the floor shook under my heels and the flowers were shaking, and the officiant's voice felt far away like a radio in another room. And somewhere on the other side of a closed door was a man whose face I had not seen, whose hands I had not touched, whose last name I was about to wear like it had always been mine. His name was Woody Randall. In a few minutes he was going to call me Sweets, and I was going to become his wife, and the person I used to be was going to fold herself up small and step aside so that someone new could walk out of that room on his arm. I had prayed for a good man. I had prayed to be someone's wife, and not just a girlfriend, not just a situation, not just a maybe. I wanted a real one. I wanted a forever one. I wanted to stop pretending that I did not want that. And now, here I was. Lord, here I was, about to say yes to a stranger, in front of a camera, in front of my mama and my daddy and my stepdaddy, in a city that was not mine yet, in a life I could not see the end of. My racing heart would not slow down. I think the heart knows before the rest of you. I think the heart is the first thing God made, and the last thing he takes back. And mine was telling me that whoever was waiting on the other side of that door had already been written into me a long time ago. I just had not met him yet. When the door opened, I did not look at the aisle. I looked for him. Part 1. The Meeting. Chapter 1. Amani, Chicago to California, to Crescent. Before I was a wife, I was a daughter with 2 daddies. That confuses people the first time I say it, and I have learned to let it. I watch their faces work it out. No, not like that. I have a father. I have a stepfather. My mama married a wonderful man, and he raised me like I belonged to him, which I did. Some little girls get one good man in their life. I got 2, and neither one was perfect, and both of them were present. That matters more than people know. I was born in California. The Bay raised half of me. Chicago raised the other half. My accent, if you listen for it, has no accent at all. I can code switch faster than most people can blink. I learned early that a woman can belong to more than one place, and that not belonging to any of them is different than belonging to all of them. I belonged to all of mine. Chicago gave me my spine. Chicago will do that. Chicago winters train a girl to walk through a wind that wants to turn her around. And after enough of those winters, nothing scares you the way it used to. You learn to lean forward. You learn that being cold is just weather, and weather passes. You learn that the people who love you will walk you to the train even if they are freezing too. California gave me my softness. California gave me the sense that life is meant to be lived outside, that the sun knows your name if you let it, that good food is not a performance, that joy is not a luxury. California made me laugh out loud in grocery stores. California made me unafraid of the ocean. Neither of those places taught me how to love a man. That part I had to learn the hard way. By the time I landed in New Orleans, I was tired. Not a bitter tired, just the kind of tired that a grown woman knows. I had done all the right things. I'd been a good girlfriend. I'd been patient when I should have been louder. I had loved men who were working on themselves and men who were not working on anything. I had kissed a lot of almosts. Almost is the cruelest word in the love language of a woman who knows her worth. Almost proposed, almost moved in, almost ready, almost serious, almost. Almost is a whole decade disguised as a relationship. I was done with almost. I had started saying it out loud, to myself, in my car, at red lights. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready. Whoever he is, Lord, send him, because I am ready. And I was not trying to talk him into me. I was not trying to fix anyone. I just wanted the real thing. I wanted a man who would show up. I wanted a man who would call me his. I wanted a man who would stop treating love like a thing he had to be convinced to do. I wanted a husband. New Orleans knew before I did. I had moved there for work, which is the clean answer, and for a second chance at me, which is the true one. There is something about that city that softens your edges. The air is heavy in a way that forces you to breathe slower. The music does not wait for permission. The food is love on a plate, and everybody hugs when they meet you, and strangers call you baby. And somehow, it does not feel like too much. It feels like home trying to adopt you. I picked up a gig bartending at a place that stayed popping. Sundays, Thursdays, the kind of nights where the line wrapped around the corner and the music was so loud you could feel it behind your teeth. I was good at it. I can talk to anyone. I can read a room. I can tell in 3 seconds whether the man in front of me wants to be flirted with or wants to be left alone, and I can give him the one he needs without making him feel small. One of my regulars was a tall New Orleans boy with a loud laugh and a table full of friends. He came in sometimes. He ordered from me. I never got his name. I want you to sit with that for a minute, because I had to. I served the man I would marry, and I never bothered to ask him his name. He was just a guy. He was just a guy who came in, who laughed too loud, who tipped fine, who seemed nice enough. I was busy. I was working. I had a life. I had not been sent to that bar to meet my husband, I thought. Meanwhile, on the other side of a casting process I had filled out mostly on a dare and half on faith, a group of strangers in a conference room were doing the one thing no algorithm on earth could do. They were matching me. They were putting my file next to another file. They were deciding that a New Orleans boy with a loud laugh and a big family and a soft heart was mine. 2 weeks. 2 weeks before I walked down an aisle I had been daydreaming about since I was a child. 2 weeks before I said a vow to a man I had been serving at a bar. 2 weeks before I found out that God had been in both rooms the whole time. I did not know any of that yet. I was just a girl in a city that was learning to love her, pouring drinks for a man she had not been introduced to, telling herself that ready was not a feeling, it was a decision, and she had decided. On the last night I worked that shift before the casting call back, I remember wiping down the bar and catching my reflection in the mirror behind the bottles. I looked tired and pretty, and a little lonely, and a little brave. I said to her, quiet, under the music, "You are going to be okay." I did not know I was going to be better than okay. I was going to be a wife. Chapter 2. Woody, a New Orleans boy. My mama named me Woodrow. Say it slow. Woodrow Randall. There is a weight to that name, and a man does not grow up with a weight like that without learning how to carry it. Woodrow is a name that came off somebody's back porch, off somebody's front pew, off somebody's kitchen table where the grown folks stayed up too late arguing about whose cornbread was better. Woodrow is a name that expects something of you. Everybody calls me Woody. Woody is different. Woody is the one who walks in the room and the room gets louder. Woody is the one who dances before the song finishes. Woody is the one who tells the joke and then laughs at his own joke before you even get a chance to laugh at it, which should be annoying and somehow never is. Woody is the one who gives people nicknames before he knows them, because a nickname is my way of saying I am keeping you. If I give you a name, I am putting you in my life. If I have never called you anything, we have never really met. Woodrow is the one who sits down after the party and thinks about his mama. Both of them are me. I am from New Orleans, born, raised, baptized in the heat. I have lived in Atlanta. I have lived in Texas. I have seen places. I have loved places. New Orleans is still home. It is the only city I know that can feel like a hug and a warning at the same time. It is the only city where strangers call you baby and mean it. It is the only city where the jazz sneaks out of a brass instrument and through your rib cage like it has a key to a room in you that you forgot about. My family is big. My family is loud. My family will embarrass you in public because they love you in private. My family prays over their food and prays over their folks and prays louder when folks are not listening. Every man in my family taught me something, the good and the hard, the things to copy and the things to never repeat. I watched. I decided young what kind of husband I would be, if I ever became one. I decided who I wanted to be in a house with the lights off, and the baby crying and the rent coming. I decided a long time ago that I would be a man who stayed. Staying is underrated. My daddy taught me about work. My uncles taught me about charm. The women in my life, which is every woman in my life, taught me how to listen when a woman says something without saying it. My grandmama taught me that a man is known by how he treats the waitress. My mama taught me that love is not a performance, it is a practice, and you practice it even on the days when you do not feel like it. I was doing fine on my own. That is what I told everybody. That is what I told myself. I had my friends. I had my people. I had my ways. I had a routine. I went out. I came back. I knew which bar was popping on which night and who was working it, and which door to walk through to avoid which situation. But there is a particular kind of lonely that waits for a man on the drive home. It does not knock. It does not text. It just sits in the passenger seat, quiet, while you go over the day. It asks you the questions you would not ask yourself in daylight. Who is coming home with you? Who is waiting? Whose voice are you going to hear when you put the key in the door? Whose name are you going to say first thing tomorrow morning? I had answers for every other kind of question. I did not have an answer for that one. A friend of mine sent the casting link. He sent it as a joke. I opened it as a joke. I filled it out as a joke. I swear to God I did. That is how the best decisions of my life usually arrive, disguised as foolishness, disguised as a what if, disguised as a man saying, "Man, I will do anything once," and then discovering that the once changes everything. Married at first sight. I read those words and did my normal thing. I laughed. I said some bets. I said no way. I said ain't no way. I said my mama would kill me. I said my grandmama would bring her back and kill me again. I said all that. And then I sat there on my couch and let the question in anyway. What if she was out there? What if she was really out there, somewhere, doing her life, not knowing I was the one, not knowing I had been rehearsing how to love her my whole life without her name on my lips? What if she had been praying for a husband and the Lord decided to answer her prayer by standing me up in front of a camera and a pastor and saying, "Son, here is your wife"? What if I was her answer? I filled out the form. I went to the interviews. I let them ask me their questions. I let them ask me about my family. I let them ask me about my exes. I let them ask me what I would not be able to live with. I let them ask me what I was looking for. I told them the truth. I said she has to be kind. She has to be smart. She has to be funny in a way that does not hurt people. She has to love God, at least a little, even if she is figuring it out. She has to want kids. She has to know how to laugh. She has to know how to fight fair. And then I said the thing I almost did not say. She has to be able to sit with me in the quiet. Because any woman can handle me at the party. Any woman can handle the Woody version, the loud one, the flip-doing life of the crowd one. I needed a woman who could handle Woodrow on the porch at midnight. I needed a woman who could hold my hand while I did not say a word. I needed a woman who would let me be a man, and a son, and a friend, and a scared person in the same hour, without punishing me for switching. She had to see all of me. I signed the papers. I did not know her name. I did not know her face. I did not know that she was already in my city, already pouring me drinks, already smiling at me over a bar top, already laughing at jokes she did not have to laugh at, already rehearsing the good wife she was about to become, without either of us knowing it. God was in the room. God had been in the room the whole time. We were the last ones to find out. Chapter 3. Amani, the bartender, and the regular. There are small miracles in every city. A seat opens up on the train right when you feel your feet give out. A coworker brings the exact snack you were craving. A stranger catches your wallet before it falls through the grate. The city is full of these. You are too busy to notice most of them. You say lucky. You say coincidence. You say girl, thank you. You almost never say God. But God is in the small miracles. That is where He loves to hide. I believe that. I believe He is less interested in the big fireworks and more interested in what you missed on your way to work. I believe he will put your whole future in a room with you on a random Tuesday and let you pour him a drink and walk away and not say a word and wait. My God is patient. Mine always has been. I keep going back to that bar in my mind. I keep putting myself back behind it. The black apron, the hair up, the line 3 deep, the noise so thick I could feel the bass in my hip bones. That bar. That was my bar. I owned that bar for a season. Nobody paid for a drink that I did not pour with some kind of intention. My favorite part of bartending was not the money. My favorite part was the moment right before you hand the drink over. You look up. You make eye contact. You say something kind. You make a stranger feel seen for 3 seconds. 3 seconds is a lot. 3 seconds is enough for a lord to do a whole work. He came in with his friends. I remember his friends louder than I remember him, which is the funny part, because he is the loudest man I know now. But at the time, he was just one of them, the tall one, the one with the smile that started in his eyes before it got to his mouth, the one who would step out of the way when the bar got crowded, which I noticed, because most men will stand in front of a woman trying to work and not even see her. He saw me. He stepped back. He waited. He ordered. He tipped. He said, "Thank you, ma'am," in that New Orleans way that sounds like it has its own room in the house. I did not ask his name. I do not know why I did not ask his name. I have asked myself that question 100 times since. Some nights I think I did not ask because I already knew. Some nights I think I did not ask because I was not supposed to know yet. Some nights I think I did not ask because I was working, and I had a line, and he was a regular, and regulars are nice, and you smile at them, and you send them on their way. Some nights I think I was protected. I think the Lord sometimes puts a little veil over your eyes so you can walk past your own destiny without flinching. If I had known what I was serving that night, I would not have been able to stand. If I had known my husband was on the other side of that bar with a shot in his hand, I would have dropped every glass in my hand and run. And that would not have been the plan. The plan was for me to meet him later, in a room with cameras, in a dress that did not fit yet, with a stranger standing beside me saying, "You may all be seated." The plan was for me to meet him as my husband, not as a good-looking regular, not as a tall stranger, not as a tip. The plan was my husband. The plan was Woody Randall. The plan was the last name that was about to be mine. I did not know any of that. I finished my shift. I counted my tips. I stacked my glasses. I wiped down the bar. I walked out into that thick, warm, forgiving New Orleans night, and I drove home with my music up and my windows down, and I thought about everything except him. 2 weeks later, a producer put a picture in front of me. 2 weeks later, my hand flew up to my mouth. 2 weeks later, I sat down on a kitchen floor in the middle of the day and laughed until I cried, because I realized that the man I was about to marry was a man I had already served a drink to. God, my God. My God had been saving this one for me the whole time, and I did not even know his name. Part 2. Falling. Chapter 4. Woody the Match. I am a man who can read a room. I can sit down at a table, and before the first plate comes out, I can tell you who is having a bad day. I can tell you who is in love. I can tell you who is pretending. I can tell you whose kids just started school. I can tell you whose marriage is quiet in the good way and whose is quiet in the bad way. I have been this way my whole life. My mama said I came out the womb nosy. My grandmama said I came out the womb anointed. Some days I think they are both right. So when the producers called me in to show me a picture of the woman they had chosen for me, I knew I was going to know something as soon as I looked at her. I did not know I was going to know her. They made a whole thing out of it. They turned the picture face down. They made me breathe. They made me say I was ready. They had me sitting in a chair with the lights doing that thing lights do when they want you to feel like your life is about to change. They said, "Are you ready, Woody?" And I said, "I've been ready." And we all laughed the kind of laugh you do when you are scared. They turned the picture over. Y'all. That was my bartender. That was the woman from the bar. That was the sweet girl with the little smile who stood 3 deep on a Thursday night and poured my drink and said, "Thank you, baby," and did not once try to flirt with me. Which is honestly why I remembered her face. Because every woman flirted with me in New Orleans. It is embarrassing to say out loud. It is not a brag. It is just a truth about being a tall man with a loud laugh and a big smile in a city that parties. The women came in waves. She did not come in a wave. She stood still. She was busy. She did her job. She looked up. She looked at me like I was a human being and not a target. And she handed me my drink, and she moved on. I remember thinking that night, this one is not out here. This one has a life. This one is not trying to be famous. This one is not watching the door. I remember thinking that. And then I left the bar and drove home and forgot her. The way you forget the most important things until the Lord decides to remind you. Now she was sitting in a photo in my hand, in black and white, looking up at me like she had been waiting for me to come back for her. I said her name out loud, Amani. I said it slow. I said it the right way, Amani. Peace, in Swahili, is what it means. I did not know that yet. I would know that later. I would know that her name was Peace, and that was not an accident. God does not hand out names by mistake. God had named her Peace and set her down in the middle of my life and then handed me the paperwork to marry her. She was sweet. That was the first word in my mouth. She was sweet. I told the producers, I said, "You picked right." I said, "I know her." I said, "She poured me a drink 2 weeks ago." I said, "You could not have picked better if you spent a year looking." I said, "My mama is going to love her." I said, "Y'all don't even know what y'all did." They thought I was exaggerating. I was not exaggerating. I sat there with her picture for a long time. Longer than was manly, longer than was cool, longer than I would admit on a podcast later. I sat there and I looked at her and I felt something very old and very quiet slide into place in my chest, like a drawer that had been slightly open my whole life, finally closing all the way. There is a feeling a man gets when he meets his wife. I've heard other men try to describe it. Most of them fail. Most of them say something corny about butterflies. Most of them say something about a song on the radio. I am going to try anyway, because I know somebody listening to this is going to need to hear it. The feeling is not butterflies. The feeling is home. The feeling is your whole body. Every cell, every muscle, every rough place, every soft place, every scar, every joke, saying at the same time, there she is. There she has been. There she will be. She was here before you knew how to ask for her. She will be here after you forget how to remember anything else. She is yours. She is yours. She is yours. I looked at that photo. I said out loud to an empty room, "Sweets." It just came out. Her name became her name in my mouth before I ever got to say her name. I have not called her anything else since. I will not call her anything else until I die. The day I meet God, and God asks me who I love, I am going to say a name I gave her before I knew I was allowed to. I went home. I did not sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed holding my phone, which did not have her number in it yet, and I said one of the shortest prayers of my life. Lord, do not let me mess this one up. Lord, please, let me love her right. Chapter 5. Amani, Dress Fittings and Doubts. They had me in a white dress 3 weeks before I knew his face. Do you know how strange that is? Do you know what that does to a woman? You are standing on a little platform in a quiet room, and some sweet older lady is pinning the hem, and she keeps telling you how beautiful you look, and you keep smiling the thank you smile. And the whole time there is a little voice in the back of your head saying, "Girl, this dress is for a man without a name." I went to 3 fittings. At the first one, I was excited. At the second one, I was nervous. At the third one, I was quiet. You could not have pulled a word out of me with a tow truck. I stood there, and the seamstress fussed with the back of the dress, and I looked at myself in the 3-way mirror, and for the first time I felt the weight of what I had agreed to. I was about to marry a man I had never met. First, was about to marry a man I had never met. I kept repeating it to myself in different places in the sentence, trying to find the one that made it feel normal. None of them made it feel normal. It did not feel normal. It felt like standing on a cliff in the dark and being told there was a staircase. I had a cry that week, a real one, a floor cry, the kind where you are not making noise because you do not have the energy to make noise. I was in the bathroom of my little apartment, and I had not even turned the light on, and I sat down on the tile with my back against the tub, and I let myself feel all the way down to the bottom of it. I was scared. I was scared I was going to marry the wrong man and waste years of my life being polite about it. I was scared my mama was going to watch me walk down that aisle with a look on her face she was trying to hide. I was scared my friends were going to get on a plane to New Orleans and smile in front of the cameras, and then call me later and say, "Girl, what are you doing?" I was scared God had not signed off on this. I was scared my heart was tricking me. And I was scared of the other thing too. I was scared I was going to love him. Because if I loved him, and he did not love me back, then I was going to have lost on national television. I was going to be a story. I was going to be a meme. I was going to be the girl who said yes and got a no. I was going to have put the most tender part of myself into a man who could take it and leave. I have lost a man before. I had never lost a husband. The word husband was a new word in my mouth. It felt heavier than boyfriend, heavier than fiancé, heavier than any word I had used before. A husband is forever. A husband is in the ground with you. A husband is in heaven with you. A husband is the last name the Lord gives you before he calls you home. I was not about to be loose with the word husband. I got up off the bathroom floor. I washed my face. I put on my earrings. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I said out loud, Amani Aliyah Randall. I said the whole name. First time I ever said it. First time I ever put his name on the end of mine. I said it to see if it made me laugh, or if it made me cry, or if it made me sick to my stomach. It did none of those things. It sat there in the air like a promise somebody had already written down somewhere, and I was just reading it out loud. It sounded like mine. I did not tell anybody that. I did not tell my girls. I did not tell my mama. I did not tell the camera. I did not put it in the interview I did the next day where they asked me how I was feeling. I said nervous. I said excited. I said ready. Those were all true. But I did not tell them I had practiced my new name in my bathroom mirror, and it fit. Some things are sacred. Some things belong only to you and the Lord, and the man who has not found out yet that he is the answer to the prayer you have been whispering your whole life. 3 days later, I put that dress on for real. 3 days later, the aisle opened. 3 days later, the man waiting at the end of it turned around when the door swung wide, and I saw his face, and my knees went. I will tell you about that next. Part 3. The Wedding. Chapter 6. Woody, I do and I will. There is a quiet room in a man's life that nobody gets to enter until the morning he puts on the suit. Not his mama, not his boys, not the pastor, not even him most of the time. It is a little room in the chest where he keeps the version of himself he has always hoped to be. The good husband, the good father, the good son his grandmama would brag on at church. That room has been locked most of his life. He might visit it on the long drives home. He might visit it at funerals. He might visit it in the middle of the night when a woman he loved a long time ago pops up on his phone. The morning I put on my suit to marry Amani, that room opened wide. I stood in front of a mirror in a little back dressing area, and I looked at myself, and I did not see Woody. I saw Woodrow. I saw the man my mama had been trying to raise since I was 6 years old. I saw him. He was taller than me. He was calmer than me. He had more gray in him than I did. He had a wife on his arm. He was looking at me the way my granddaddy used to look at me, which was the look of a man who was not disappointed in me, but who was watching to see if today was the day I became somebody. I straightened my tie. I said, "All right, Woodrow, let's be who you've been." I had been praying for a week, not the loud kind, not the kind that ends in amen, the kind that you whisper while you are brushing your teeth, the kind that slides in between sentences while you are talking to other people. Lord, let me love her right. Lord, let her be what I've been praying for. Lord, if this is not for me, tell me now. Lord, but if it is for me, Lord, if it is, Lord, do not let me run. God did not tell me to run. God told me the opposite. God told me to get specific. God told me to love her specifically, to look at her specifically, to remember her face specifically, to give her a name that only I used, so that when she was out in the world being Amani, she would still hear me whisper sweets in her ear at night. I did not know that yet. I was going to know that soon. I heard the music change. I heard the doors open. I heard the little rustle of a room full of people standing up all at once, which is a sound that has no other sound like it. It is a holy sound. It is the sound a congregation makes when they are making room for a bride. Anybody who has stood at the front of an aisle knows what I am talking about. Your back is turned. You have not even seen her yet, but you feel the room turn. You feel the air change. You feel love walk through a door. I turned around. Lord, I was not ready. I had been telling everybody I was ready, and the minute I saw her, I realized I was not ready at all. I was the opposite of ready. I was undone. I was cracked all the way open. I was a grown man trying not to cry in front of his grandmama, and my mama, and her daddy, and her other daddy, and every cousin I had who was going to put me on every group chat in the family. She was beautiful. That is the weakest word in the English language. That is not what she was. She was prepared. She was prayed for. She was the answer to a very specific question. She was walking to me, slow, smiling, scared, brave, and I realized I had been rehearsing my vows wrong, because I had been writing them on paper. I had been working out the words like I was in a classroom. You cannot study for this. The only right thing to say when your wife walks down the aisle is yes. Yes to all of her. Yes to her people. Yes to her past. Yes to her Chicago. Yes to her California. Yes to her New Orleans, which is my New Orleans now, because she is about to live in it with me. Yes to the way she smells. Yes to the way her family is watching me like a hawk, because they want to make sure I am not going to break her. Yes to the fact that she has been broken before. Yes to the fact that I have been broken before. Yes to putting our broken places next to each other and seeing if the seams will match. Yes to all of it. Yes, Lord. She got to me. The officiant said something. I am going to be honest with you. I do not remember what he said. I remember it was nice. I remember it was from Scripture. I remember he talked about my family and her family and how we had been raised to love out loud and how both of us came from big, loud, messy houses full of people who knew how to pray and knew how to cook and knew how to show up. He said a lot of good things. I was looking at her the whole time. When it was my turn to speak, I took a breath. I had written something down. I had put it in my pocket. I pulled it out. I said, I want to stand here today and say thank you to you for meeting me today. I said, I do not know you, and you do not know me. I said, but I am willing, and I am able to show you and give you my all, because you are here, just as I am here. I said, because of you, I am standing here, for better or for worse, and for richer, and for more rich, because I am not looking for a more poor. The room laughed. I laughed. My mama laughed with her hand over her mouth because she was crying too hard to laugh any other way. I said, I promise to hold you and to have you for the rest of our lives. I said, I hope the words that are on this paper can show up in real life. I said, Mrs. Randall. That name had never been said out loud before. I handed the paper back to myself in my head, and I put it down, and I said the last part from nowhere. I said, I do. And before I could leave it at that, before I could say just the thing they expected me to say, my chest opened up, and something came out that I had not planned. Something older than me came through me. I said, and I will. I do, and I will. That is a different thing. That is a whole different thing. I do is a sentence. I will is a promise. I will means tomorrow and the morning after that and the Tuesday in November, when she is tired and I am tired and the baby is crying and the roof is leaking and the bills are due and the world is mean and the house is cold. I will, Amani. I will love you on the easy days. I will love you on the days your hair is a mess and mine is a mess and we are both a mess. I will love you when you are mad at me and when you are right to be. I will love you when you are scared. I will love you when I am scared. I will love you when we are both scared at the same time, which is the hardest one, because nobody is leading then, and we are going to have to find each other in the dark. I will, and I said it one more time for the room, and for her, and for the Lord, and for my granddaddy who was not there anymore, but was somewhere watching. I do, and I will bet. Thanks. That is what I said after. I said bet, and I said thanks, and it was a man's way of saying I am close to crying and I need you all to let me off the cliff. The room laughed again. The room clapped. The officiant said some things I was not listening to anymore. I was looking at my wife, my wife, my wife. I let that word marinate, and when he told me I could kiss her, I leaned in, and I did the gentlest thing I knew how to do. I kissed her like the world was watching, because it was. I kissed her like her daddies were watching, because they were. I kissed her like a man who had just been handed something sacred. I kissed her like I was going to keep her, because I was. Chapter 7. Amani, Mrs. Randall. The door opened, and my knees gave. I want to tell you they did not. I want to tell you I floated. I want to tell you I was composed. I was not composed. I was a grown woman on the edge of her own life, and my legs did not know what to do with me. My girls caught my back. My girls walked me. My girls said, "Breathe, friend, breathe." I breathed. I looked down the aisle, and I saw him. I saw my husband for the first time, except, he was not the first time. Something in my stomach tipped sideways, and I tried to smile, and I could not smile, and I tried to smile again, and I could not, and I realized my mouth was saying something that my brain had not caught up to yet. I know him. I know him. I know him. It was him, the regular, the tall one, the laugh, the manners, the thank you, ma'am, him, my bar, my shift, my tips, him. I had served this man a drink 2 weeks before the day I was about to wear his name forever, and nobody in the whole world knew that but me and God. My God knew. He had set me up in the sweetest way a father can set up a daughter. He had put my husband in my hands twice, once for me to look at him and not know, once for me to walk to him and finally, know. And the in-between was him. The in-between was the Lord saying, "Daughter, I am going to show you that I was in the room the whole time. You thought you picked this. You thought casting picked this. You thought producers picked this. I picked this. Before any of them, I picked this. I walked. My heart was not racing anymore. My heart was steady. There is a quiet that falls on a woman at the moment she recognizes the hand of God in her life. It is not a quiet of nothing. It is a quiet of everything. It is the quiet of all the right pieces clicking into place. It is the quiet after a long night of worry when you realize the sun is up. It is the quiet of a woman who has been found. I walked to him. He was taller than I remembered from the bar. He was looking at me like he had always been looking at me. and I was just now turning around to notice. He took my hand. He said hi. I said hi. It was the smallest hi in the history of his. It was the biggest hi of my life. He called me sweets before the ceremony was over. He did not even do it for a compliment. He did it in passing. He said, "Mind if I call you sweets?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "All right, bet." And we kept going, like he had been calling me sweets for 100 years. He did not know yet. He did not know that he had named his wife on the altar. He did not know that some of us hold our names tight, and a woman has to decide very early whether she is going to let a man have a nickname for her. I decided, right there, on the spot. He could have it. He could have all of them. He said his vows. I do not know if he remembers what he said. I remember. I remember every word. I remember the paper in his hand, and the way his hand shook a little, and the way he said, "Because of you, I am standing here, for richer, for more rich." And I laughed so hard I almost cracked. I remember the way he said Mrs. Randall at the end, like he was testing out my new name, and the way I wanted to say it back to him. I remember, most of all, I do, and I will. I will. I did not know when he said that I was going to need it. Not yet. You never know on your wedding day. You cannot know. A wedding day is the easy part. The easy part is the lights and the flowers and the music and the dress and the kiss. Everybody can do a wedding. The Lord does not watch the wedding. The Lord watches the marriage. The Lord watches the Tuesday. The Lord watches the fight over the hair. The Lord watches you hold a positive pregnancy test in your hand, alone in the bathroom, because your man is at work and you do not have anybody else you can call. The Lord watches you on the floor at 3 a.m. when the baby will not stop crying. The Lord watches the years. I had not lived any of that yet. I was just a woman on her wedding day, looking at the man who was not a stranger at all, and realizing that the Lord had hidden my husband in plain sight, the way he does with all the best gifts. When I said my vows, I tried to be light. I said, "I cannot say who you are to me because we are just meeting." That was the lie. The truth was, I knew who he was to me. I had known the second I saw his face, but I could not say that out loud, because the cameras would not have understood, and my girls would not have understood, and my mama and my daddies would not have understood, and the Lord had not given me permission to share that part yet. That part was for later. That part was for a podcast 4 years later, when we were sitting in our own house, with our own baby crawling across our own rug, and I could say out loud for the first time that God had given me my husband at a bar, and I had not even asked his name. My girl, that day. I said what I could. I said, "I promise to support you through every aspect of life." I said, "I promise not to take up all the space in the bed." I said, "I will put my cold feet on your side." I said, "With you, I hope to learn more about the world and how to navigate through it together." I said, "I hope we can communicate about our joys and our fears so that we can remain connected in every way." I said, "I cannot wait to tell everyone how we started this journey." I said all of that while I was looking at him, and when he kissed me, I closed my eyes, and I felt the room fall away, and for one small second I felt God smile at both of us. That is the best word I have for it. God smiled. I had been a lot of things that afternoon. Nervous, brave, scared, hopeful, quiet, loud. Now I was a wife. I was Mrs. Randall, and my life was about to start over from the moment the kiss ended with a man I had poured a drink to on a night I would not forget for the rest of my life. Part 4. The Quiet Years. Chapter 8. Woody Sweets. A honeymoon is a liar. I am going to say that up front. I love a honeymoon. A honeymoon is a gift, but a honeymoon will tell you that marriage feels like this, and that is not the whole truth. Marriage is the week after. Marriage is the airport coming home. Marriage is the first Monday morning when the alarm goes off, and you both have things to do, and the magic has to share the room with the laundry. But before I tell you about the Monday morning, let me tell you about the week. The week was beautiful. It was beautiful in the way the Lord sometimes hands you a little piece of heaven up front, so you do not forget what you are building toward. Sweets wore her hair up one night and down the next night, and put on a different pair of earrings every time she walked out of the bathroom, and I acted new every single time. I had just met her. Every version of her was new. She was laughing at me, and I was laughing at her, and we were eating things we could not pronounce, and we were figuring out what each other's quiet looked like. Quiet, y'all. That is the part they do not show you on the TV. When you have been loud your whole life, you do not know how to sit still with another human in a room. You do not know what to do with your hands. You do not know how to let your chest rise and fall without filling the air with something. I had to learn. I had to learn that week that my wife did not need me to perform for her. My wife liked me quiet. My wife could sit on the end of the bed in silence and be fine. My wife could look out a window for 10 minutes without saying a word, and not be mad, and not be sad, and not be thinking about anything bad. She was just looking. She was just being. That was new. I have loved loud women. I have loved a lot of loud women. There is a thing that happens with two loud people in a room. Neither one of you rests. You are always performing. It is fun. It is wild. It is intoxicating. But it is not rest, and a man needs rest. A man has an outer man that is flips and jokes and loud voice, and he has an inner man who is quiet and tired and wants to close his eyes on somebody's chest and not have to say a word. Amani let me be my inner man. Amani rested me. I called her Sweets 10 times a day that week. I kept trying it on. I kept saying it to see if it still fit. Sweets, where is my phone? Sweets, you hungry? Sweets, you ready? Sweets, what you thinking about? Sweets, over here. Sweets, come here. Sweets, sweets, sweets. She smiled the same smile every time. Every single time. I clocked it. I am a man who watches for that. A woman's smile at a pet name tells you everything you need to know about whether you are landing with her. Her smile never faded. Her smile did not go to that polite place women go when they are about to tell you to stop. Her smile kept coming back, smaller and smaller, quieter and quieter, until by the end of the week it was a secret. By the end of the week, Sweets was something only we knew. I liked that. I still like that. I was shooting for a honeymoon baby. I told her that straight up. I was a New Orleans boy raised on big families, and I had been clear about this in every interview. I wanted children. I wanted a lot of them. I wanted them soon. I did not want to wait. I wanted to be a young daddy. I wanted to have the energy to chase a boy across the yard. I wanted my mama to hold my first son. She laughed at me. She said, "Woody." She said, "We just met." She said, "Let us be married for a minute first." I said, "Bet." I said, "Bet," but in my head I was still shooting. You can be a man who respects his wife and still have a prayer running under every sentence. Lord, honeymoon baby. Lord, sooner rather than later. Lord, me and her and me. Lord, let us not wait. The Lord had other plans. I want to tell you that right now. I want to clear it up before I get to the later chapters. My wife did not get pregnant on the honeymoon. My wife did not get pregnant for a long time. My wife and I were going to learn the word patience from the inside out. We were going to learn it with our teeth clenched. We were going to learn it at dinner tables where other couples had their kids on their laps, and we did not. We were going to learn it on the phone with our mothers, who love you and still ask the questions that hurt. We were going to learn it in the morning after yet another negative test, when she would come out of the bathroom and look at me, and I would just open my arms. But that was later. That was for later. For the honeymoon, we were just figuring out how to be us. The first fight. Oh, y'all, I have to tell you about the first fight. We came back from our little piece of heaven, and we moved into our apartment. I do not remember the exact day the first fight happened. I remember the subject, and I remember who was right, and I remember who was wrong, and I am going to tell on myself a little bit. It was about hair. I do not remember how it started. I remember my wife said something about wanting to cut her hair. I remember I said something quick. I remember it came out wrong. I remember the tone in her voice changed. I remember she said something about how she did not need my permission to cut her hair. I remember I said, "I did not say you needed permission." I remember she said, "That is what it sounded like." I remember I said, "That is not what I meant." I remember she said, "But that is what you said." Then the quiet. Oh Lord, that quiet. Some of you know that quiet. Some of you know the quiet after the first real fight, the kind where you both realize you are not dating anymore and you cannot just walk out and go home and call it tomorrow. You are home. This is home. There is no other house to go to. You are going to sit in this room with her, and you are going to hear her breathing, and you are going to hear her not saying what she wants to say, and you are going to feel the whole rest of your life stretch out in front of you, and you are going to have to decide right there in that quiet what kind of husband you are going to be. I decided. I said, "Come here." She said, "No." I said, "Come here, sweets, please." She did not say no that time. She came. She sat on the edge of the couch next to me, and she did not look at me, and I did not look at her. I took her hand. I said, "I am still learning you." I said, "I did not mean it like that." I said, "It is your hair. It is your body. It is your head on your shoulders, sweets. You do not have to ask me. I just want to be in the room. I just want to be let in. I just want to know. So when you come out with a new head, I am ready. I just want to be in on it." She was quiet for a minute. Then she said, "That is a different sentence." I said, "I know." She said, "That is a very different sentence from the one you said." I said, "I know." I said, "I am going to get better at this." I said, "Please be patient with me." She said, "I am." That was it. That was the first fight. That is how it ended. It was not pretty. It was not funny. It was not something I am proud of. I learned more in that half hour than I learned on the honeymoon. I learned that I had been loved for who I was, and I was going to be loved for who I was. But the loving was not going to let me off the hook. The loving was going to call me up higher. The loving was going to ask me to be a better listener. The loving was going to make me a better man. She was teaching me, and I was going to let her. I remember that night, I sat on the edge of the bed after she went to sleep. I looked at her back in the dark. Her shoulders were rising and falling. My wife was sleeping beside me. My wife, who I had almost hurt in our first real week, over a sentence that had come out of me too fast. I put my hand on her back, very light, very soft, just to say sorry without waking her up. I said, "Sweets." I said it under my breath. I said, "I got you." I said, "I got you for the rest of my life." I said, "I am going to learn every quiet lane in you." She slept. I watched her sleep, and I said my same small prayer. Lord, do not let me mess this one up. Lord, please, let me love her right. Chapter 9. Amani, Decision Day. 8 weeks. That is what they gave us. 8 weeks to do what a regular couple tries to do in 2 years. 8 weeks to figure out whether we were going to stay married or whether we were going to sign some papers and walk in opposite directions and go back to our old lives. Decision Day. The word sounds soft if you do not know what they are. Decision Day, like a birthday, like a holiday, like a day you might circle on a calendar and draw a little heart around. It is not that kind of day. It is a courtroom day. It is a day you sit in a chair across from a man you have just finished falling in love with, and you look him in the face, and you tell the camera whether you are keeping him or whether you are giving him back. I had fallen in love. That is not the part that was hard. The hard part was trusting myself to know it. I had fallen in love before. I had been sure before. I had been wrong before. I had walked into every relationship of my 20s saying, "This is it. This is him. This is the one." And then I had walked out of every one of them saying, "Well, Lord, wasn't it though?" I had learned not to trust my own heart on big decisions. My heart had brought me to some bad rooms, but my heart was not the only one in the room now. My mind had a say. My mind had been watching this man for 8 weeks. My mind had clocked him. My mind had watched how he moved in public. My mind had watched how he moved in private. My mind had watched him when his friends were not looking. My mind had watched him when my friends were not looking. My mind had watched him when he did not think I was watching. He passed. He passed every test I knew how to give him. Not perfectly, not every time. He had his moments. I had mine. But he never lied to me. He never made me feel small. He never raised his voice past the room. He never made a scene in public about a private matter. He never embarrassed me. He never disappeared on me. He never left me guessing. He called me sweets, like he meant it, every single time. He was a good man. That was my conclusion. He was a good man, and I had been asking God for a good man, and here was one, sitting across from me, scared in his chair the same way I was scared in mine. Decision Day morning. I did not sleep. I want to tell you I did. I want to tell you I slept like a baby and woke up with clarity and skipped down the stairs like a Disney princess. I did not. I tossed. I turned. I got up 3 times. I sat on the edge of the tub in the dark, for no reason, for an hour. I put my forehead against the cool of the mirror and tried to hear God say something. God did not say anything. God does that sometimes. You are waiting for the big voice. You are waiting for the sky to crack open. You are waiting for a word. God is sitting in the room beside you, not saying anything, because he has already said it a long time ago, and he is waiting for you to trust it. I knew what my answer was. I had known for weeks. I just wanted permission. I put on my dress. I did my hair. I put on my earrings. I stood in the mirror and said my full name again, Amani Randall. It still fit. I still fit. I still belonged in it. We drove over there separately, which was the cruelest part, actually. They made us ride separately. They made me sit in a car, by myself, with my heart pounding, with no Woody to reach over and say, "Girl, you are going to be fine." They wanted that clean moment on camera. They wanted us to enter alone and leave together, or alone. It was going to be alone or together. The producer set us up in a room, a living room, experts on either side. Calvin Robertson, my brother, was there. I love him. I love them all. They had walked with us. They had checked in on us. They had sat us down in uncomfortable chairs and asked us uncomfortable questions. They had done their job. Now it was our turn. Woody went first. I am not sure if it was because he wanted to go first or because they asked him to. I am not sure I could have gone first. I was holding my hands in my lap so tight I could feel my rings press into the other fingers. He said yes. I do not remember what else he said. He said a lot of things. He said beautiful things. He had notes, I think. He had thought about it. He had made up his mind. He looked at me the whole time. He did not break eye contact. He did not do what a scared man does, which is look at his hands. He looked at me. He said, "I want her." He said, "I am keeping her." He said, "I want to grow with her." He said yes. Then it was my turn. I opened my mouth. I paused. I did that thing women do when we know we are about to say something important. I took the long second. I let the camera feel my lungs. I looked at him. He was looking at me. He had a small little smile on his face, the sweet smile, the one that was only mine. He was not nervous anymore. He had trusted me. He had put his yes on the table first. He had handed me his whole next life and asked me to do one thing with it. I did. I said yes. I said yes because you are kind to me. I said yes because you are honest with me. I said yes because you make me laugh in a way that is not at anybody's expense. I said yes because you love your mama, and a man who loves his mama knows how to love a wife. I said yes because you have shown up, not one day, not 2 days, not the good days, but every day. I said yes because I trust you. I said yes because when I am old and I am looking back, I want to be looking back at you. I said yes. My husband exhaled like he had been holding his breath for a month. He reached across the little space between our chairs, and he took my hand, and he held it, and he did not let go. We were still married. We were still married on purpose. We were still married by choice. That is what Decision Day was supposed to be about. It was supposed to make you decide, not just drift, not just show up for the next scene. Decide. Open your mouth, look your spouse in the face, tell the Lord and the cameras and your mama and your grandmama that you are choosing this person. I had chosen him. He had chosen me. We walked out of that room as Mr. and Mrs. Randall, for real, for life, for the long one. We got into the car. I cried. I had not cried in front of him yet. Not really. Not a true cry. I had done the television cry, the little one, the pretty one. I had not done the ugly cry, the wife cry, the relief cry. I did it then. He did not make a sound. He did not ask what was wrong. He did not try to fix anything. He just put his hand on the back of my neck, soft, the way a man puts his hand on the back of a tired child. And he let me cry out all of the last 8 weeks at once. 8 weeks of not knowing if my marriage was going to make it. 8 weeks of loving a stranger on television. 8 weeks of praying. God was not asking me to do anything stupid. 8 weeks of opening my heart a little at a time. 8 weeks of him never dropping me. I cried until my shoulders stopped shaking. He waited. Then he said, "Sweets, you ready to go home?" I said yes. I said, "Let's go home, Woodrow." I said his whole name. I had never called him Woodrow before, I do not think. Not like that. Not soft like that. Not home like that. He heard me. He started the car. We drove, and I sat in the passenger seat of my husband's car, on the other side of a decision I had made with my whole chest, and I watched the New Orleans lights slip past my window, and I said to myself, very quiet, very sure, "Amani, you did not make a mistake. You did not make a mistake. The Lord gave you this one." Part 5, The Trial, Chapter 10, Woody, Domain. We lived in an apartment called Domain. That is not a metaphor. That was just the name. But the Lord works in metaphors sometimes, and I did not know, when I signed the lease, that we were about to learn what it looks like to claim dominion over something as small as a 2-bedroom with a view of a parking lot. We were about to learn to build a kingdom out of a kitchen table, a couch, a little balcony, and a whole lot of hope. Domain was home for almost 2 years. 2 years sounds short. 2 years is not short when you are trying to become parents, and your body will not let you. I am going to say the hardest part first. We wanted a baby. We did not get one right away. We did not get one second. We did not get one third. We did not get one for a long time. I am not going to take you into every detail of that, because some things belong to my wife. Some things belong between her and the Lord. Some things belong in the bathroom, where a woman stands with a stick in her hand at 6 in the morning, and her husband is still sleeping, and she makes a decision, alone, about whether she is going to wake him up with good news or walk back into the bedroom with nothing and let him sleep. But I will tell you what it did to me as a man. It humbled me. I was the one who said honeymoon baby. I was the one who said sooner rather than later. I was the one who told the experts on television that I wanted a full house. I was the one who was counting in my head before we even got back from our honeymoon. I had a plan. I had a schedule. I had a spreadsheet in my chest. The Lord took my spreadsheet. He took it gentle. He did not tear it. He just folded it up and handed it back to me and said, "Son, son, this one is not yours to plan. This one is mine. Y'all do not know what it is to hand your spreadsheet back to God until you have had to, month after month. My wife would come out of the bathroom. I would see her eyes before she said anything. I stopped asking with my mouth because my mouth made her flinch, and a husband learns not to ask a question that hurts. I learned to ask with my arms. I would just hold mine open. She would walk into them. Sometimes she would cry. Sometimes she would not. Sometimes she would just stand there, pressed against my chest, and breathe out. That was my most important job for a season. Holding, just holding, not fixing, not cheering up, not trying to make a joke, not trying to pray out loud when she needed quiet prayer. Just holding her and being there and letting my body tell her body that I was not going anywhere. That was a kind of Woody nobody on television had ever seen. I was not loud in those moments. I was not the flip-doing life of the room Woody. I was the other one. I was Woodrow. I was the man my grandmama had been trying to raise. I was a man who knew how to be quiet with a woman in pain. I had been waiting to be that man for a long time. I did not know until then that the Lord had been training me for it. Now, let me tell you the other story underneath that story, because my wife and I did not just sit in the apartment and wait. We lived. We lived on purpose. We went out. We ate. We laughed. We had game nights with her girls and my boys. We hosted her mama. We hosted my mama. We hosted her daddies. We hosted my uncles. We cooked a lot. We made our little 2-bedroom feel like the Randall compound. We were building. Even when we did not have the baby yet, we were building. That is what I want anybody listening to this to hear who's waiting for their own answered prayer is running long. Build anyway. You can build while you wait. In fact, that might be the only way to build. Because if you do not build while you wait, the waiting will build you. And the waiting will not build you into somebody you recognize. The waiting will make you small. The waiting will make you quiet in the bad way. The waiting will make you suspicious of other people's joy. The waiting will make you look at a pregnant woman in the grocery store and have to look away so you do not break right there in the aisle. You have to build while you wait. So we did. Then the world stopped. I do not have to tell you about that year. Everybody who lived through it remembers. Everybody has their own version. We had ours. Our version was mostly quiet, and mostly inside, and mostly us. That year was strange for a lot of couples. Some couples do not make it through a year like that. They were already a little tilted and the extra weight pushed them over. But for us, that year was a gift I did not expect. That year, nobody was watching. That year, nobody was asking for pictures. That year, nobody was asking when the baby was coming. That year, the show was not the show. The show was just us. Just a man and a woman in a little apartment, figuring out how to love each other when the whole world had its doors shut. I want to tell you something I have never told anybody on a podcast. In that year, I fell in love with my wife a second time. Not a better time, just a second time. The first time was on the altar, which was fast and bright and televised. The second time was slow. The second time was in the afternoon, in the kitchen, with her singing to herself while she was cooking, and me standing in the doorway, pretending to check my phone, and really just watching her move. You do not know your wife until you watch her alone. You do not know your wife until you see what she does when she thinks nobody is looking. Is she kind to herself? Is she cruel to herself? Does she dance a little bit when the song is right? Does she pray while she is stirring? Does she talk to her mama on speakerphone? Does she sing a song she does not know the words to? Amani sings songs she does not know the words to. She does it loud. She does it proud. She makes up the words. She hums the parts she does not know. She does a little shoulder thing at the chorus. She has no shame about it. She is committed to the vibe. I watched her do that one afternoon, and I thought, this is my wife. This is my wife for real. I have the good version, and I have the goofy version. I have the public version, and I have the private version. I have the clear version, and I have the version that fills in the gaps with hums. I have the whole woman. I fell in love with her a second time, and I think she fell in love with me a second time too, because she started looking at me different. She started looking at me like I was a man she was staying with on purpose, not just because she had said yes on television. She started looking at me like I was a choice. That is different. A yes on an altar is a promise. A yes in a kitchen is a decision. We were making the decision every day. And sometime deep into that year, while the Lord was closing some doors and opening others, while we were learning patience and learning prayer and learning how to cook the same 5 meals 100 different ways, my wife came out of the bathroom one morning without her face on, without her mood on, holding a little white stick. She did not say anything. She did not have to. I stood up off the couch, and I stood there for a second like a fool, just standing, because I did not trust my legs to take me across the room. She said, "Woody." She said it like a question. I said, "Sweets." I said it like an answer. I walked to her. I took the stick out of her hand. I looked at it. I could not see it through my eyes. I had to wipe them. I looked again. 2 lines. 2 lines, y'all. 2 lines after too many ones. I dropped to my knees. I did. I was not doing it for a show. There was no show. There was no camera. There was nobody in the apartment but us and the Lord. I dropped to my knees, and I wrapped my arms around my wife's waist, and I put my forehead on her stomach, and I talked to whoever was in there. I said, "Hey." I said, "Hey, baby." I said, "It's Daddy." I said, "I've been waiting." I said, "You took your time, but that is okay. That is okay. You come when you come. You come when the Lord sends you. I am not mad. I am happy. I am a whole happy. I am going to be ready. I am going to be here. I am not going anywhere." My wife put her hand on my head. She said, "Woody, get up. The neighbors." I got up. I laughed. She laughed. We laughed like 2 people who had not laughed in a while, and then we cried. And then we laughed again. And then we called our mamas. And the phone calls that day. The phone calls that day were a whole service. My mama screamed. Her mama screamed. Both my mama and her mama screamed at the same time, which, if you have ever been on a family phone call with screaming mamas, is a sound that is going to live in my body until I die. My grandmama wept. Her auntie wept. My uncle started giving me advice about diapers before we had told him what the sex was. Her girls flew in from 3 different cities to sit with her on the couch and cry. Domain was not a 2-bedroom anymore. Domain was a kingdom. Domain was the place where the Lord had heard our prayer and answered it. At the time, he had been planning the whole while. in a way that taught us more about each other than an easy yes would have. We sat on the balcony that night, me and Sweets. The city was quiet. She leaned her head against my shoulder. She said, "I do not want to leave this apartment." I said, "Sweets." I said, "We have to, eventually." She said, "I know." She said, "I just want you to remember this one." I said, "I am going to remember this one." And I am. I remember every inch of that apartment, every scratch on the floor, every chip on the corner of the counter, the way the light came in through the balcony door at 5 in the afternoon, the way our names sounded bouncing off those thin walls, the way we had hoped and cried and waited and built inside those 4 small rooms for years. Domain was the place where we learned. Domain was the place where the Lord made us parents before the baby was even born, by making us better at loving each other in the dark. I would not trade those 2 years for a palace. I would not trade them for anything. Chapter 11. Amani, Rain. I named him Rain, not because of the weather, not because of a song, not even because of a scripture, although there are plenty of good ones, and I have thought about them since. I named him Rain because rain is what happens after a long dry season. We had had a long dry season. You already know that. My husband already told you that. He told it the way he tells everything, which is softer than you think a New Orleans boy is going to tell it. He told you he dropped to his knees. He did. He told you he kissed my stomach before we even had a name for the little person in there. He did. But I want to tell you about the 9 months, because 9 months for a woman who has waited is a different 9 months. I did not trust my body. I did not trust my luck. I did not trust the calendar. I did not trust a clean test. Every morning, for the first trimester, I woke up and I had a little rehearsal in my head where I prepared myself for the news that was not going to come, but that I could not stop preparing for, because that is what waiting teaches you. Waiting teaches you to protect yourself. Waiting teaches you to hope quiet. I had to learn how to hope loud again. It was not easy. Woody was better at it than I was. Woody talked to the baby out loud from the first month. Woody put his face up against my stomach at night and told that baby about New Orleans. Woody told that baby who his grandmama was. Woody told that baby about second lines and po' boys and the levees and the parade routes. Woody was treating my stomach like a whole child was already in it, with full ears, taking notes. I could not do that yet. I loved my husband for being able to do that. I needed him to do that, because I could not. The first time I felt the baby move, I cried. I did not cry for a pretty reason. I cried because I realized I had been holding my breath for weeks. I'd been walking around not believing. I'd been afraid to rub my own stomach. I'd been afraid to buy a little onesie. I'd been afraid to tell too many people, even though I had already told half the world. And then a little elbow, or a little heel, or a little something pushed out from inside me, and my whole body understood before my head did. The baby was real. The baby was here. The baby was coming. I sat in our apartment that afternoon, and I put both of my hands on my stomach, and I said, "Baby." I said, "Baby." I said, "Mama was scared." I said, "Mama is going to do better." I said, "Mama is here." I said, "Mama is so glad you are coming." I said, "I am so sorry I was scared." I felt another little kick. It was the baby saying, "Girl, it is fine. I am here. Let's go." We had 3 baby showers. I want to tell you about that because some people who did not know me said something about it online and tried to make it ugly, and I will not let them have the last word. My family is in Chicago. My family is in the Bay. My family is in New Orleans because that is where my husband's people are. My people could not all come to one city. That is the honest answer. That is the boring answer. I am from California. I was raised in Chicago. Woody is from New Orleans. We have 3 cities worth of aunties and uncles and cousins and friends and grandmamas, and every one of them wanted to put their hands on my belly and pray over my baby. 3 cities, 3 showers, 3 kinds of love. The Chicago shower was loud. Chicago does love like Chicago does everything. Chicago gets in your face. Chicago laughs at itself. Chicago has women in their 70s who will say something inappropriate about your husband in front of your mama, and nobody will correct them because they are right. I cried in Chicago. I cried because my girls flew in, and my aunties came, and the place was full of women who had held me when I was small, who were now holding me when I was holding something small. The Bay shower was softer. The Bay shower had that California air. Everybody had flowers. The food was pretty. The music was calm. My stepdaddy, who raised me, came to that one, and he did this thing he has done since I was a little girl, which is he puts his hand on the top of my head and does not say a word. He did it at the shower, in front of everybody. He just put his hand on the top of my head, and he closed his eyes, and he stood there, silent, for maybe 10 seconds. Then he took his hand away, and he nodded at me, and he went back to his seat. That was my blessing. That was all I needed. My daddy called the same night. My daddy and I were not done learning how to be a father and a daughter. We still are not. But he called me that night, and he said my name the way only a father says your name. And he said, "You are going to be a wonderful mother." He said, "I love you." He said, "I am here if you need me." I had 2 daddies. Both of them had showed up. And the New Orleans shower. Oh, the New Orleans shower. Woody's family, Woody's city, Woody's people. They did not sit. They did not stop. They cooked. They danced. They brought the baby everything, including things you do not even know a baby needs. Somebody brought a rocking chair, already assembled, wrapped in a bow, like Santa had been there. One of his aunties pulled me aside and prayed over my belly for 15 minutes straight, with her hand flat on my stomach, and I cried so hard I had to sit down. Another auntie came over without saying a word and handed me a tissue. I was loved. I was loved in 3 places at once. I was loved by people who did not know me and had chosen to love me because I was his. That is a miracle. The last month was hard. I am going to be honest. The last month was hard. I was tired. I was big. I was uncomfortable. I could not find a position to sleep in. I was worried about the delivery. I was worried I was not going to be a good mother. I was worried I was going to disappoint Woody. I was worried about 100 things that never happened and a few things that actually did. He sat with me through every one of them. He never made fun of me. He never told me I was being dramatic. He did not try to fix it. He just sat. That is the man I married. That is the man I said yes to on decision day. That is the man I had been praying for since I was 22 years old, sitting in a car in Chicago with the windows fogging up, begging God to send me somebody who would not run. He was not running. He was sitting. On the day I had my son, my husband was the first face I saw. I want to be careful here. I want to be careful about the details. Some things belong between a mother, a father, and a baby. Some moments are the family's, and I am not going to put them in a book. But I will tell you this. I will tell you that when they put him on my chest, the first thing I said was not his name. The first thing I said was, "We did it. Woody cried. I cried. The baby cried a little and then stopped, and then looked up at me with his new eyes, the brand new kind, the kind that have never seen anything before, and he locked in on my face, and he did not look away. He knew me. He had known me the whole time. He had been with me through the long, dry season. He had been waiting in heaven. He'd been sent at the exact right hour, by the exact right father, to the exact right couple. He had come when he was ready, not when we were ready. We named him Rain Randall, because the dry season had ended, because the Lord had opened the sky, because something beautiful had fallen on us when we were ready to catch it. I looked up at Woody. He was standing over both of us, crying in a way I had never seen him cry. He said, "Sweets." He said, "Thank you." He said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." I did not know then, but the next time he said those 3 words so many times in a row would be a year and a half later, in another hospital room, with another little brother on my chest, and another beginning in our arms. Rain was first. Rain opened the door. Rain taught us that the answered prayer does not always show up on schedule. The answered prayer shows up on time. Part 6. Resolution. Chapter 12. Woody, building while it is loud. A house was not the plan. A house was the next plan. You have to understand how a man like me thinks. I am from New Orleans. My people did not buy houses the way other folks bought houses. My people saved up. My people inherited things. My people passed things down. My people built things with their hands. A mortgage was not always the way. A mortgage was for people with other kinds of stability. We had other kinds of wealth. We had family. We had community. We had a front porch you did not have to reserve. But when we had rain, something shifted. I wanted land. I wanted walls. I wanted a front door that was ours on paper. I wanted my son to grow up with a room where he could slam his door, and I would have to knock, and he would have to answer. I wanted to teach him how to mow a lawn by making him mow my lawn. I wanted a garage I could put my hands on and say, "This is mine. This is ours. This is where we live. This is where Mama lives. This is where Sweets lives. This is where Grandmama is going to come and cry the first time she walks through the door." So we started looking. I want to shout out our realtor Ashley real quick, just for the books, because Ashley was an angel. Ashley was a professional. Ashley was the kind of woman who does not let you buy a house you will regret. Ashley walked us through a lot of houses that were not the one. Ashley said no a lot more than she said yes, which is how you know a real one. Ashley made a wish list with my wife. Ashley made a different wish list with me. Ashley found a house that put a check next to most of both. Ashley stood in the front yard with us while we held Rain in our arms, and she said, "Y'all, this is yours, if you want it." We wanted it. The day we closed, Amani did a little dance in the living room, just a small one, just for her. She did not know I saw her. I was coming around the corner with a box, and I caught her, in an empty room, doing a little bay girl shoulder move, with her eyes closed, humming something to herself. I stood in the doorway, and I watched for a second. I did not interrupt her. Some things a husband should see and not say anything about. I set the box down. I left. I came back a minute later with another box, and she was still dancing. And I said, "Sweets." She said, "You saw me." I said, "I did." She said, "Do not tell nobody." I said, "Nobody." I said, "Not even Rain." She laughed. That was the first laugh in our new house. I have not forgotten that laugh. We lived in Domain for 2 years. It was hard to leave. We did a whole walk through on the last night. We went room by room. We thanked that apartment like it was a living thing, which it kind of was. Domain had carried us. Domain had heard our waiting. Domain had heard our laughing. Domain had heard our crying. Domain was the room where the Lord told us we were going to be parents. We said thank you to the kitchen. We said thank you to the master bed. We said thank you to the balcony. My wife got a little teary in the guest room, which she had already started calling the money room, because she is a practical woman, and she saw things with her bay eye and her Chicago spine. She said, "I am going to miss this." I said, "I know." She said, "I know we got to go." I said, "I know." We went. We moved into the new place. We made it ours. And then, somewhere in the middle of making it ours, my wife came out of the bathroom again. Y'all, I'm going to be real with you. When my wife came out of the bathroom that second time holding a stick, I did not drop to my knees. I did not cry. I did not call my mama first thing. I have to tell him myself on that one. I was tired. Rain was not sleeping through the night. Amani was not sleeping through the night. I was not sleeping through the night. Nobody in my house was sleeping through the night. And I looked at that stick, and I looked at my wife, and the first thing I said was, "Sweets, we about to be out here." She laughed. She said, "I know." She said, "I know, I know, I know." She laughed like a woman who was exhausted and happy at the same time, which is a sound only a mama of a young child can make. It is a beautiful sound. It is a sound that has no copy in the world. Then I cried. I cried the second time too, just slower and quieter, and more into her shoulder. 2 boys. Y'all. 2 boys. I was going to have 2 sons. I was going to have a whole team. I was going to have back-to-back. I was going to have a big brother and a little brother who were going to grow up, like I grew up with my friends in New Orleans, running in and out of each other's lives, fighting over nothing, making up over food, protecting each other when it mattered. I was going to have 2 boys watching me to find out what a man does with a wife. I was going to have 2 boys watching their mama to find out what a woman does for her husband. I was going to have 2 little mirrors who I was going to have to be careful around, because a boy copies his daddy without ever being asked. I had been rehearsing this. I had been rehearsing this since I was a little boy myself, watching the men in my family, deciding what to copy and what to leave alone. Now it was my turn to be copied. We named the second one Rye. Rain and Rye. I love the way those two names sit next to each other, the way they sound in a sentence, the way you can say them fast, one after the other like a little song. When Rye came, Rain was obsessed with him. I have to tell you that, because it was one of the sweetest things I ever saw. Rain was not yet 2 years old. He could barely understand what a brother was, but Rain knew. Rain went to him. Rain climbed up on the couch and put his little face right on Rye's little face and did not blink. Rain was the first person to look at Rye that way. Amani posted about it. Amani does not post about everything. She is careful. She is a grown woman on the internet, and she knows how the internet can come at you. But she posted about that moment because she could not help herself. She said becoming a family of 4 had been deep. She said Rain was totally obsessed with his baby brother. She was not lying. Rain was in love. Rye was content. I was the happiest man alive. I want to stop here for a second and say something, because I talk about myself too much on this thing. Let me say this. Amani is a mother. Period. I have watched other men's wives mother their children. I have watched my own mother mother me. I have watched aunties and cousins and friends. I have seen a lot of good mothers. My wife is in that class. My wife is in that rare class. My wife does the thing that the best mothers do, which is that she does not lose herself. She stays Amani, even while she is being mommy. She plays. She creates. She laughs. She has her own brand going. She has her own projects going. She is still a grown woman with grown dreams, and she is raising my boys like a priestess. You can tell a man's wife is a mother when his boys go to her first. Rain goes to her first. Rye goes to her first. I am not mad about it. I expect it. That is what mamas are. Mamas are base camp. Daddies are the outside. I am happy to be the outside. I am happy to be the one you come back to when the world has been too loud. Mama is the home. Amani is the home. I build around her. The brand came later. I want to be clear about that. We did not get married to build a brand. We got married to be married. The brand was an accident of honesty. We started putting out little pieces of our lives, and the Lord did something with those little pieces, and people started watching, and people started listening, and people started writing us and telling us that our marriage helped them, and that they came from broken homes, and that they had never seen a man talk about his wife the way I talk about mine, and they had never seen a woman talk about her husband the way Amani talks about me. We did not expect that. We were just being ourselves. But people need to see themselves mirrored, and sometimes the Lord uses a couple's marriage as a mirror for a stranger they will never meet. That is what happened with us. That is what is happening. We are out here doing our little thing, and every week somebody writes me to say, "Thank you, Woody, for being who you are, because I did not know men like you existed." That part makes me cry. I do not say that on the podcasts. Let me say it here. I cry about it sometimes when I am alone. I cry because if one more black man, one more black husband, one more black daddy got to see me on a screen and decided that he could do the same thing, then the Lord put us on television for a reason. The Lord did not do this for our pockets. The Lord did not do this for our followers. The Lord put us here so that the little cousin and the little brother and the little son and the nephew and the godson could see a husband and a wife love each other out loud and decide to do the same. in their own house with their own woman. Legacy is not money. Legacy is a pattern. We are trying to set a pattern. My wife calls it building while it's loud. I love that phrase. I stole it from her. I am stealing it right now. Building while it's loud means you do not wait for quiet to start your work. You do not wait for the babies to be asleep. You do not wait for the laundry to be done. You do not wait for your credit to be perfect. You do not wait for the money to be in the account. You do not wait for your parents to approve. You do not wait for your friends to understand. You do not wait for the world to slow down. You build while it's loud. You build with babies on your hip. You build with socks on the living room floor. You build with your wife crying about something real, and you crying about something smaller, and both of you putting your foreheads together because you are exhausted. You build anyway. That is the part of marriage nobody tells you about when you are single. That is the part of marriage that only the married ones know. Marriage is not a scene. Marriage is a construction site. You are up there in a hard hat. Your wife is up there with you. You are laying brick. You are pouring concrete. You are checking each other's work. You are yelling across the site because the saw is too loud. You are mad at each other for about 20 minutes at a time, and then somebody brings lunch, and you sit on the tailgate, and you remember you are on the same crew. You are building. You are building something that is going to stand when both of you are dust. That is my wife and me. We are on the site. We are building. The roof is not finished. The inside is not painted. The lawn is patchy. The driveway is cracked. The neighbors do not always get it. The babies are always interrupting. The work is not glamorous. But the Lord is on the site with us, and I would not trade our construction project for a mansion somebody else finished. Because this is the house we are building, and it is ours. Chapter 13. Amani, the Lemonheads, and the Locks. I want to talk to you for a minute, like we are sitting on a porch together, because that is how I like to talk. My Chicago grandmama talks on the porch. My California auntie talks on the patio. My New Orleans mother-in-law talks on the front steps. Everywhere I am loved, somebody is sitting outside with a cup of something warm in their hand, watching children play in the yard, telling truth about life. Let me tell you some truth. Motherhood is not what I thought it would be. I had pictures in my head. Most of them came from commercials. Most of them came from Instagram. Most of them came from the other mamas in my life who had told me the pretty stories and skipped the real ones. I thought motherhood was going to be a little pastel. I thought motherhood was going to match. I thought motherhood was going to have a soundtrack. Motherhood has a soundtrack. The soundtrack is my son crying in a bathtub because he has just been informed that he has to wash behind his ears. The soundtrack is my other son throwing up in a car seat the one day we dressed him up for pictures. The soundtrack is my husband yelling, "Sweets, come look, and I come look." And the baby has put something on his head, and my husband is crying with laughter, and I am crying with laughter, and the boys are laughing because we are laughing, and we all fall out on the floor, together, like a small family of heathens who have lost their minds. That is the soundtrack. I love it. I love my kids. I love them so much. I am not sure I have the words for it, and I am a woman who is usually good with words. There is a sentence I have wanted to say since I was a little girl, and I am going to say it now, and then I will move on. I am a mother. I am a mother. I am a mother. 3 times for good measure, 3 times like a prayer, 3 times because it is such a new word in my mouth that I still pinch myself when I say it. But I am still me. I want to say that too. I want to say that to my fellow mamas. I want to say it to the ones who feel like they have disappeared, because the world expects you to disappear. The world will let a mother disappear if she is not careful. The world will rename you by your children. The world will stop asking how you are doing and start asking how the baby is doing. The world will forget that you had a name before they pinned a stroller to it. I did not disappear. I will not disappear. I started something called the Lemon Heads. It is mine. It is silly. It is a little brand I built with my hands. It has my humor. It has my face. It has my voice. It is my corner of the internet where I can be fully me without asking if it matches the family thing. My kids are not in that corner. My husband is not in that corner. That corner is mine. That corner is where I remember that before I was anyone's mama, I was a creative, and I was a bartender, and I was a girl, and I was a daughter, and I was a sister, and I am still all of that, even now. I am more than a mama. I am a mama who is also herself. That is a word I want every young mother to hear. You are allowed. You are allowed to keep your things. You are allowed to keep your silly. You are allowed to keep your style. You are allowed to keep your friends. You are allowed to keep a little corner of yourself that is not public property. You will be a better mother for it, I promise. My husband. Let me talk about my husband for a minute. He has his thing too. He has his mineral gang. He has his jokes. He has his hoodies. He has his little world of folks who root for him. He is loud about it. He is proud about it. He has his own lane, and he drives in it. And he does not get in my lane, and I do not get in his lane. And when we come home, we sit in the lane together. This is the balance. I did not know we were going to have to build this. I thought we would just fall into it. We did not. We built it. We built it on Tuesday afternoons. We built it in conversations at the kitchen counter after the kids went down. We built it in disagreements. We built it in the quiet after the disagreements. We built it every single time one of us stopped and looked at the other one and said, "Hey, what do you need? How can I make this easier?" My husband has asked me that question more than any other man in my life. How can I make this easier? Not how can I fix it? Not how can I make you stop feeling that? Not how can I get you to move on? How can I make this easier? That is the Woody Randall secret weapon. You cannot teach a man to ask that question. Either he knows how to, or he does not. Either he is the kind of man whose mama sent him out of the house knowing how to notice a tired woman, or he is not. My husband is that kind of man. I did not pick that. I got lucky. Or, as I like to say it, the Lord picked well. And he does the boy's hair. I want to say that too, for the husbands listening, for the ones who think a man's job is to provide and leave. I want to tell them that my husband, my Woodrow, does his son's hair with his own 2 hands, for hours, with his full attention. Rain asked for locks like his daddy. Rain wanted to look like Pops. Rain wanted the mirror picture. Rain wanted to walk next to his daddy and feel the match. My husband said yes. My husband sat with that child for 2 days, 2 whole days, doing locks, with the television on, with snacks on the floor, with a little boy who kept wiggling, with a little boy who did not want to sit still, with a little boy who went and jumped in the tub the same day he got his locks finished, y'all. He went in the tub. He swam like nobody just did his hair, like his daddy had not just spent 48 hours in service to him. Woody was a mess about it at first. He was like, this boy. Then he was like, this boy. Then he was like, you know what? This boy is my boy, and he is going to get his hair done again because I love him, and because this is the work, and because locks are a journey, and because fatherhood is a journey, and because my son is going to look at the mirror one day and see his father and his own face at the same time. And that is worth 2 more days of wiggling in a chair. That is the man I married. That is the man who does his son's hair. That is the man who, when you ask him why he did it, will shrug and say he wanted to look like his daddy. That is a whole sermon right there, if you have the ears to hear it. Now I want to say one more thing before I hand the last word back to my husband. I want to say something to the woman who is listening to this while she is waiting. I know you are listening. I know you are in your car, or in your kitchen, or in your bathroom, with earphones in, and you are waiting. You are waiting on a husband. You are waiting on a baby. You are waiting on a house. You are waiting on a healing. You are waiting on a decision day in your own life. You are waiting on a man to figure out who he is. You are waiting on yourself to forgive somebody. You are waiting. I want to tell you what I did not believe when I was waiting. I want to tell you the Lord is not late. I was waiting for my Woodrow for years. I was waiting for rain for months and months and months. I was waiting for a house. I was waiting for a career. I was waiting for my body to let me have what I wanted. I was waiting for my friends to stop asking. I was waiting for my relatives to stop asking. I was waiting for the mirror to stop asking. The Lord was not late. The Lord was right on time. Every single time. You cannot see that when you are in the waiting. I am telling you, looking back, the Lord was right on time. Woody came exactly when I was ready. Rain came exactly when we were ready. Rye came exactly when we were ready. The house came exactly when we were ready. My lemon heads came exactly when I was ready. My peace came exactly when I was ready. Exactly when, not a minute before. I used to hate that sentence. I love it now, because it means the Lord is not going to miss you. The Lord is not distracted. The Lord did not forget your name. The Lord is not running late behind somebody else. The Lord is putting the last stitches in the thing He made for you. The Lord is hemming the dress. The Lord is finishing the cake. The Lord is wrapping the gift. When it shows up, it is going to have your name on it, and it is going to fit. That is all I came to say tonight. That is all I came to say. Chapter 14, Woody, Letters from the Porch. I have a little habit my wife does not know about. Or maybe she does know about it. Wives know everything. She has probably always known about it, and she lets me have it, the way a woman lets her husband have his small private things, because she understands that a man needs a room in the house that is only his. even if that room is just a corner of the porch and a notebook and a pen. I write letters to my sons. I do not send them. I do not post them. I do not turn them into anything public. I just write them. I sit on the back porch at the end of a day, after the boys are down, after Amani is in the tub or on the phone with one of her girls, and I open a little notebook and I write whatever I wanted to say to Rain or Rye that day. Most of the time it is small. Rain, today you threw your eggs on the floor. I was not mad. I was laughing because Mama could not see my face behind you, and I was the one who had to pick them up, and I was mad, but not mad. Rye, today you grabbed my finger so hard I thought I was going to cry. I do not know where a small baby gets that kind of grip. I hope you hold on to the world like that your whole life. Rain, today you asked me why I have locks. I told you because I like them. That was a lazy answer. Let me try again. I have locks because my hair is mine. I have locks because the way it grows is the way God meant it to grow. I have locks because your granddaddy did not have locks, and your great-granddaddy did not have locks, and there was a time in our country where a black man's hair was not considered his own, and I am growing mine on purpose, so you will never think yours is not yours. Rye, today you smiled at your brother, and it fixed something in me I did not know was broken. Rain, today I yelled at you and I was wrong. I am sorry. I will tell you this when you are older. You were being a child, and I was being tired, and I let tired do my talking. Your mama did the thing she does. She did not embarrass me. She came over. She put her hand on my back. She said, "Babe." She just said, "Babe." She did not have to say anything else. I knew. I got on my knees in front of you. I said, "Son, Daddy is sorry." I said, "You did not do anything wrong." I said, "I love you." You looked at me like I was a giant and a baby at the same time. You put your little hand on my cheek. You said, "Okay, Daddy." You forgave me before I finished apologizing. I cried in the bathroom later. Your mama came in and found me. She did not say anything. She just stood next to me. That is your mama. That is why I married her. I write these for you, sons. I write these for the men you are going to be. I write these for the husbands you are going to be. I write these for the daddies you are going to be. Someday, when you have a woman in your house who is tired, and a little one on the floor, and a wall of things you have not figured out yet, I want you to know that your daddy did not have everything figured out either. I want you to know that your daddy was loud and laughing and scared. I want you to know that your daddy did not always say the right thing. I want you to know that your daddy's mama prayed over your daddy, and your daddy's grandmama prayed over your daddy, and your daddy's wife prays over your daddy, and all of their prayers are why your daddy is the man writing these letters. It was not me alone. It was never me alone. Somewhere in one of these notebooks, I have a letter I wrote the night before Rain came home from the hospital. I went back and read it the other night, and I do not mind telling you it made me cry. I had written it on the kitchen counter while your mama was still in the hospital room upstairs, and the baby was asleep in her arms, and I had slipped out for a second to breathe. I had written, "Son, I hope you are proud of me one day." That was it. That was the whole letter. I hope you are proud of me one day. I have not stopped writing letters since. Every man who becomes a father gets scared in private. You do not see it. You do not see it on podcasts. You do not see it at the barbecue. You do not see it in the pictures. You see us playing basketball with the little ones and laughing and flipping them in the air, and you think we are calm about it. We are not calm about it. We are working it out in notebooks and on drives home and in the shower and in the quiet hour before dawn, when everybody else is still asleep. We are praying. We are asking the Lord to help us not mess this up. We are asking the Lord to let us be the answer to our own son's prayer, the way our own fathers were the answer to ours, when they were the answer, and the question, when they were not. We are figuring it out. Anyway, I am going to put the notebook down now. My wife is coming. I can hear her slide the door open. I can hear her laugh about something she is not going to tell me about for another week. I can hear her pull the other chair closer. I can hear her settle in with her little glass of something cold and my little glass of something warm, and the night and the porch and the quiet and the small sound of two boys breathing in the dark on the other side of the wall. This is the life. This is the one I prayed for. This is the one I almost did not ask for because I was too cool to ask for it. Lord, I am glad I asked. Lord, I am glad you answered. Lord, I am glad you answered slow because I would have messed it up fast. Chapter 15. Amani, a note in a drawer. Here is a thing my husband does not know. I have been keeping notes on him since the wedding. Not a journal, not a diary, just little notes. Little things he said that I did not want to forget. Little ways he looked at me. Little moments I wanted to hand to the older version of me, the version who would need to remember on a hard day why she said yes to this man. Sometimes I would write them on the back of receipts. Sometimes I would type them into my phone late at night. Sometimes I would scribble them on the inside cover of a book I was reading. I keep them in a drawer, a real drawer, the one in my nightstand, next to my hand cream, next to my earplugs, next to the little framed picture of me and my mama that is too small to hang but I cannot stand to put away. Let me read you a few. The day he asked if he could call me Sweets, I wrote, he named me on the altar before the Lord said go. He named me Sweets before he knew my middle name. I was a little indignant when I wrote it. Now I read it and I smile. The day we had the fight about the hair, I wrote, he learned the right sentence. Most men do not learn the right sentence. He did, before bedtime, in one conversation. That is a grown man. A woman should know what a grown man looks like, so she can tell her daughters. Husband is a grown man. The day he cried in the kitchen when we found out we were losing a pregnancy early. I did not write a lot that day. I only wrote, we were two pieces of one person in the kitchen. I left it at that. That was the whole note. Some days you only have a line in you. The day Rain was born, I wrote pages. I am not going to read you the pages. They are too much, even for a book. I will just read you the last line. Last line was, he is a good father, period. He is a good father, period. I underlined period. I underlined it twice. The day we moved into this house, I wrote, he carried me over the threshold like it was 1952. I wrote, I let him. I wrote, I let him, because he needed to do it, and because I needed him to do it, and because sometimes a tradition is just a prayer in a coat. The day he sat down with Rain and started the first lock, I wrote, My husband has a calling. My husband's calling is this family. My husband's calling is these boys. My husband is a priest in our house, and he does not even know it. I underlined priest. The day I caught him writing in his little notebook on the porch, I wrote, "He has a private practice. He writes for his sons. He thinks I do not see him. I see him. I am never going to tell him I see him. Let him have his thing." I am writing that one down now, right here, and I am admitting it for the first time on the page. Woody, I see you. Woody, I have always seen you. Woody, I am glad you have your little notebook. I hope you fill 10 of them. I hope our sons find them one day when they are already men, and I hope they read them at their own kitchen tables with their own wives, and I hope they cry, and I hope they pass them down. I want you to know I am keeping my version. I am keeping my version in a drawer. I am keeping it for the same reason you keep yours. I am keeping it because memory is a fragile thing, and love is a forgetful thing, and marriage will sand down the edges of both if you do not write it down. Write it down, ladies. Write him down. Write him down on the days he makes you want to laugh and the days he makes you want to throw something. Write him down when he is being the best version of himself and when he is being the worst version of himself. Write it all. Do not pick the pretty parts. Pick the true parts. A marriage is not a greatest hits. A marriage is a recording from start to finish. Every song, even the ones you would skip in the car. I write my husband down. I will write him down until one of us has to bury the other one. I will write him down when I am old. I will write him down when my hands shake. I will write him down in pencil if the pen gets too heavy. I will write him down in my head if the pencil gets too heavy. I will write him down, in some version, until I go home to the Father who gave him to me. And then I will tell the Father in person, and I will thank him face to face for the man he sent me on a casting form and set up at a bar 2 weeks before the wedding. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for my husband. Thank you for the man in the next chair on the porch, right now, who does not know I have these little notes in a drawer and who is about to find out because I decided to put this one in a book. Sweets you, Woody. Sweets you forever. Epilogue. The porch at dusk. Amani. If you are still with us, come sit down. We are on the back porch now. The boys are asleep. The dishes are mostly done. The sun is doing that thing it does at the end of the day, where it turns the sky the color of a peach, and the trees are just silhouettes, and the city is quiet in a way New Orleans is almost never quiet. I have a glass of something cold. Woody has a glass of something warm. That is usually how we do it. I wanted to thank you for listening. I mean that. I know you have 1,000 other things you could be doing. I know you have your own life, your own story, your own marriage, or your own waiting. I know you picked us tonight out of 1,000 other love stories. I do not take that lightly. Thank you. Thank you for taking our little journey seriously. Thank you for crying where you cried. Thank you for laughing where you laughed. Thank you for not dismissing us as a reality show couple who got lucky. We were not lucky. We were chosen. We were chosen by each other. We were chosen by the Lord. We were chosen by the women in our lives who raised us to know how to love. We were chosen by the men in our lives who showed us what we wanted and what we did not. Some of you came to this book because you needed to see that it was possible. I was you once. I remember putting on headphones and listening to love stories and thinking, Lord, will you give me one of those? Lord, do not forget me. Lord, I want the ordinary miracle. You can have the ordinary miracle. That is what we are. That is what we have been the whole time. We are not the flashy miracle. We are not the viral miracle. We are the ordinary miracle. We are the long, slow, steady, repeated on Tuesday, pray over the spaghetti, forgive each other at midnight kind of miracle. You can have that. It is available. Woody. I just want to say one last thing. Sweets did the hard work tonight. Sweets carried this story, like she carries most things in our house, which is another sermon for another day. Let me add this. Gentlemen, I know some of you are listening. I know some of you are driving home from a job you do not love, or sitting on a couch next to a woman you do not know how to love back, or looking at your phone in a house where you do not know what you are building. I know some of you have not had anybody show you how to be a husband. I know some of you had a daddy who was not there, or a daddy who was there and was not good, or a daddy who was good but did not say much. I want you to hear me. You can be this. You can be the New Orleans boy who shows up. You can be the man with the pet name. You can be the man who does his son's hair. You can be the man who kneels in front of his wife after a positive pregnancy test. You can be the man who kneels after a negative one. You can be the man who takes the lead on the hard conversation. You can be the man who apologizes first. You can be the man who says, I do, and I will, and actually does the will part. You can be that. I am not special. I am not a better man than you. I just made up my mind. I made up my mind early, for Amani. I said, that is my wife. I said, that is my peace. I said, that is my woman, and I am going to grow into being the man who deserves her. I did not wait to be perfect first. I did not wait to have everything figured out. I started building while it was loud. So can you. Start where you are. Love the woman in front of you. Hold her without fixing her. Listen to her without interrupting her. Hear what she is saying with the words and hear what she is saying underneath. Call her the name nobody else calls her. Bring her home when the day has been mean. Let her rest on your chest and do not say a word. Do the quiet work. Do it for years. And wait on the Lord. The Lord will do the rest. Amani. One more thing. For my ladies, do not make yourself smaller for anybody who cannot handle you. Do not trim yourself down for a man who wants you medium. Do not let the world turn you into only a mother. Do not let loneliness convince you to settle for almost. Hold out for the one who says yes on purpose. Hold out for the one who stays. Hold out for the one who will drop to his knees in an apartment kitchen because you are giving him the news of his life. Hold out for the one who does not blink when you tell him you are afraid. Hold out for the one who does not flinch when you cry. Hold out for the one who calls you by a name nobody else uses. He is out there. He may already be pouring himself a drink at the bar where you work. He may already be in your circle somewhere, smiling at you across a room. He may already be on a form, on a casting call, in a conference room, being matched up with the picture of your face. He may already be on his knees, praying for you. the same way you are praying for him. God has not lost the paperwork. God has not lost you. God is a father, and he is good at fathering. He knows what his daughters need. He knows what his sons need. He is stitching. He is hemming. He is finishing. When it shows up, it is going to have your name on it. It is going to fit. Both. We love you. We are praying for you. From our porch to yours. Good night, friend, and thank you. Author's note. This book is a work of dramatized biography. Woody and Amani Randall are real people, and the broad contours of their story are drawn from publicly shared interviews, podcast appearances, and social media reflections in which they have spoken openly about their love, their marriage, their children, and their faith. Specific events such as their meeting on Married at First Sight, their decision to remain married, the births of their sons Rain and Rye, their nickname for each other, and many of the story beats reflected in these pages come from the record they themselves have offered the public. What is not on that public record is the interior of their hearts. That interior has been rendered with care, with respect, and with the Love Story series' golden rule at every step. Invent emotion, never invent major events, where dialogue has been dramatized for audiobook listening. The author has worked to stay within the voice each of them has offered the world. This book is not gossip. It is not expose. It is not fandom. It is a love letter written in their general direction by a storyteller who believes that the way they have chosen to love each other is worth recording with honor in a form their children and grandchildren may someday enjoy. Thank you, Woody and Amani, for letting the watching world love you back. And thank you, listener, for bringing this story into your ears. Love is hard. Love is worth it. Love stays. Books by Barron Production. Love Stories Series. booksbybarron.com